Hey 918ers, it's fall. And we all know what that means. All of our favorite genre shows are just days away from heading back to television. However, this past week we saw a couple of new ones drop with, shall we say, mixed results. Star Trek Discovery and the Orville are charging ahead at full speed, and we capped off the week with a sequel that some people have been waiting 35 years to see. We're going to talk about all these things, plus a few more, on this, the inaugural episode of Talking Geek, which starts right now. Welcome back to the inaugural episode of Talking Geek. I'm Geek Boy. I got our panelists here, Jay the Blues Man, the Turtle Gal, the IT Geek, and Bullets and Brunch, as always. All right, guys, first thing we're going to talk about, as I said in the opening, is the comic book shows are, maybe a week or so away. The Arrowverse hasn't come back yet.
Correct.
Walking Dead
Legend haven't come back yet. And Flash hasn't even premiered yet.
Right,
so
and then I think we're about 2 weeks away from Walking Dead and Supernatural and that kind of stuff.
Getting close, yes.
But we have had two new superhero shows premiere in the last 7 days. I'm going to put you on the spot for this because one was really good and the other was kind of an epic fail. Let's talk about, you want to do Inhumans first?
Let's do Inhumans first.
Okay.
So, the Inhumans.
You took one for the team on this.
I've watched the 2-hour pilot premiere, and I watched the third episode this weekend, and it's just...
went back for more, didn't you?
Yeah, I did go back for more, and it just was not a good serving. I'll applaud them for the effort. They're trying to tell a good story. They have some continuity between it. Just the acting is not strong. In fact, probably.
Okay, so before you get into the acting, let me just ask you about the overall. The two things I've heard about the show remind me of a girl I used to date: cheap and slow.
Okay, so yes, a lot of the a lot of the CGI that goes on with some of the episodes and everything are not really high tech looking. They're
below standard.
Below standard is a very good one. For instance, I mean, we've seen better CGI in Supernatural and some other shows, and this is simple stuff. I mean, the thing that I have a problem with is one of the things is Medusa, and if any of you guys don't know, Medusa's the one that has the hair that she can control and everything. And I mean, this is probably almost on par with when they tried to do Fantastic Four and they did the elastic arm across the room and everything.
Back in
the 80s.
The
CGI is not good on the way they're doing her hair, and and if you've seen the episode, I'm thankful they decided to disarm her with a pair of freaking clippers and just shave her head.
So that's how they got around it?
Yeah, that's how they got around it. Basically, she can't use her hair anymore because they shaved her head and she's got no hair. So, good way to disarm her. That will give them some time
and
to
what a great way to get your fan base jazzed up who were waiting to see the Inhumans.
Exactly.
The dog looks pretty good, though.
The dog does, actually, out of the comic books, he is probably one of the characters that is pretty spot on.
Really?
Lockjaw, it looks really good, and the way they do the teleporting with him and everything looks phenomenal. It looks like a lot of the budget went into that. So, but the acting is not strong. Probably the strongest actor there is the guy that just doesn't talk, and that's Black Bolt.
Black Bolt. Yeah.
Black Bolt.
Yeah.
So as his power is basically his voice is that it literally can destroy worlds, and so he literally cannot speak. So the range of emotion he tries to convey and everything is a lot through basically just body action and facial expression and stuff. It's not strong, but it's probably better. Some of the better acting that's on the show. in my personal opinion.
So having said that, contrasted with The Gifted. Now we've seen The Gifted. We watched
Gifted
it.
was really good.
We thought
Yeah.
we were very
I
impressed.
haven't seen it yet. So.
The Gifted is Fox's answer to a new Marvel universe based in the X-Men universe. It seems to be more in line with where we're heading with Logan. We don't know where the X-Men are. We don't know where the Hellfire Club is.
Right.
It's just really kind of this limbo of what's happened to all the mutants.
But it
And-
obviously, at least from our take, it did seem to take place in the X-Men movie universe.
Yes,
That's the
I
way
agree with that.
we took it.
I mean, the fact that with some of the fans' favorite one is Day of Future Past, we get to see pretty much Blink introduced into the show,
Yeah.
and she's the one that creates the bubbles of fields that basically you can walk through for teleporting or transporting to
That's
a
right,
location.
yeah.
So yes, and they use the special effects very similar to what they did in the movie with the purple hue around
That's
around
right.
it.
I did notice that.
And the female actress is very similar, and I can't remember the names, and I should have looked that up before this, but very similar in appearance and everything like that. So the story is based around our fan, Mr. Vampire Bill from the True Bloods. He is a prosecutor for the state or for the federals, basically prosecuting
against the humans.
against
Yeah.
basically against the
The
mutants.
Sentinel
and
Squad.
Sentinel Squad.
That's it.
Thank you. And so he goes in. He's trying to talk to them and and bring up cases against them. Well, he and his wife soon find out that their
Both are.
kids are both mutants, and so it puts them on the run as a family, very tight knit family, and so you get to see how they go from this normal day to day operation of what they think is good, and now to this we're social outcasts, and how do we deal with that as a family? So it's a very interesting take on that. So.
Well, one thing from a production aspect that, again, I don't know why, I guess it's because we're geeks and we notice this stuff. I thought the daughter's force fields looked really cool.
Oh, they did.
Because, force fields are very hard to do in movies. And I mean, you're not a force field like the containment fields
Correct.
in Star Trek,
Correct.
but like a character who can cast force fields. The Sue Storm thing was a challenge, but because there's certain things that comic books do very well, and
Right.
that's one of it. Her stuff looked really good. I mean, just the
and what was
design.
really strange is these are not. If you caught the explanation of her powers, is it's not truly a force field. It's her actually taking the air molecules and creating a field.
Right.
Of that.
Yeah.
And she can either do that with other things like water and stuff. Other things are harder for her. So again, yeah, I like the fact that they actually took the time to explain her powers a little and see, and we notice how she's been honing them and developed them kind of in secret since the almost car accident. So so a lot of great character development in that show. Some people may have not recognized, but the character that was consulting Blink when she got brought into the underground is actually the character Sage from the comic books. I read this online. So a lot of people are hoping that they develop that character more and see some of her powers. So stay tuned to that and let's see how well they develop that character and everything. So between the two shows, I would say, if we were going on a Wolverine scale, 3 claws for the Gifted and maybe a half claw, and that's the middle.
Maybe the middle, yeah, the middle.
But I'll keep coming back to the Inhumans just to see where they're going. I mean, apparently we're only getting one season of it anyway, so what's the fault there? So I'll just keep
cutting your losses.
Yeah, exactly.
It's almost like
But-
the Shield folks said, "Hey, we only wrote 11 scripts this year. You
Yeah,
can do something."
exactly. So I mean, we're getting Shield back, so
Yes.
I'll stay tuned in with Shield. They're getting they had a strong season last
Very
year,
strong.
and I think we can really I think we have some good things coming there. And then the Inhumans just kind of need to go back to the moon base and stay there. And that's my take.
Well, you can't don't mince words. What do you really think? All right.
Not.
Well, that since you mentioned Shield, because they ended their last season with a cliffhanger in space. And speaking of space,
Wait a minute, they didn't end in space.
they
ended
ended
up.
up. No. They ended with Coulson. They got tranquilized, and Coulson woke up on a space station in space.
Damn, how did I miss that episode?
I don't know. You should go back.
That,
and
but
watch
it
I'm
was
gonna go
right
back and watch that.
to watch it now.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, 'cause he ended
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Thanks, John.
No problem. Damn it.
Go ahead.
All right, so I was trying to do a space segue since space opera is next on the list. but
Apparently, I missed something.
apparently that was another yet epic fail on my part, because next on the list we're going to talk about the other new shows we've had this week, which is the Orville and Star Trek Discovery. All right, I see some shaking of the head down there. This is going to be too good because I've separated these two for a reason because we're going to talk about the Orville and its latest episode, which is Priya, which ironically guest starred Charlize Theron, and even more ironically was written by Seth MacFarlane. And irony of ironies, with Seth MacFarlane writing the script with Charlize Theron, he created a scene with her in bed with him.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, it's not the first time they've been in bed together.
true that. But anyway, so Jessica, Bullets and Brunch down there. You had a problem with the Orville, and what was that?
It wasn't that I had a problem with the Orville. It was the fact that they did not question enough. And as a captain, he should have questioned, why is there one person on a mining vessel? One person.
That's what you're hanging your
That's
hat on.
just because you gamed with your father
I'm just
as
saying.
the game master, and
Why did nobody else question that? So there's one person on a mining vessel that is stuck to like a spinning out comet thing. So there's that.
But didn't that sequence look great?
It did.
It
Did. Also, the captain was the one that led the away party. No, the first officer should have gone.
But the captain and the first officer always go together.
They do, especially on the Orville, so that is one thing that they do.
Yeah.
A lot. And two, he didn't listen to his first officer. And he
Well,
just
no, because
kept-
that's his
That's
ex-wife.
why, yeah.
And he was
But
infatuated.
if
And he was
he was
infatuated.
infatuated.
and that's
being
understandable,
driven
but
by
if
his
he's
hormones.
going to have her as
True.
his XO, she should be able to voice her opinions without him
She
saying,
voiced them.
well, without him blowing them off. He should really take
He's
into
the captain,
consideration
but-
she wouldn't have said that if it wasn't necessary. And she was right.
Well, okay. So let's not kid ourselves here. Guest star Charlize Theron. We know there's going to be something wrong here.
Right, she's always bad.
There was a never thought in my mind she was going to become the captain's new love interest and be a regular, a semi-regular
That's just
on
the
the show.
nerd in Seth MacFarlane that was like, this is happening.
I'm just
No. I mean, so if you ever saw Seth MacFarlane's Western, The 1,000 Ways to Die in the Wild West, they are actually were, huh?
I forgot she was in
Yeah. So they're a love interest in there. So
Yeah.
they actually
and
had
written
a-
by Seth MacFarlane.
exactly. So I mean, some.
By the way,
Back to
Kate
that.
Beckinsale's coming to Comic Con, and I'm writing a script with Kate Beckinsale. So guess how that works out. Anyway,
So and even with Liam Neeson was actually
Right.
in his movie there. So
I really liked that Liam Neeson was in the one before. It was
it was a nice touch. So you liked the Orville, did you not?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
You're enjoying the way that they're developing the characters.
Yes.
Yes.
I really do. The whole missing of the leg. And
That was
The
fantastic.
regeneration was what really got me when he like walks on deck
Yeah.
and just pushes the
Daniel.
But you know, here's what I like about this, and we brought this up. That's basically the B story,
Yeah.
and which is the usually where Data fell in the Next Generation.
Right.
That was a typical Next Generation Data B story
Yeah.
told from kind of a fanboy Seth MacFarlane point of view. It's like
Right.
Data didn't understand humor, and the worst he ever got was pushing Dr. Crusher into the water.
Right.
I mean, what if he like you said,
Cut somebody's leg
Jordan's
off.
leg off? Isn't that funny? You know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
I liked it just because it showed that even though Kelly and him are divorced, she still has his best interest at heart.
and she still has feelings for him.
And there's still feelings there.
on both
And-
parts.
And,
there.
he, even doing the sneak thing, trying to go in and, I like how they resolved the, putting the robot
Oh,
being
yes.
and
programming.
being his programming into that so that they could counteract the
The device, whatever the device.
override cue.
Well,
Yeah.
and okay, I do have to say this. Seth MacFarlane did get me in. I kept thinking she was going to be some kind of an alien being that the black matter modules were out to get. I kept thinking she's hiding from someone. The whole thing from her being from the future, I didn't see that coming.
This is why we don't fly into random shit.
They didn't have a choice.
They didn't
couldn't
have a
see.
choice on that
But
one.
that episode had 3 big effect sequences in it. It had the comet thing at the beginning. It had the dark matter swarm,
Oh,
and it had the
great scene.
wormhole. And I love the fact that the wormhole did not look like Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
I mean, they made an active effort to do a wormhole effect that did not look like that.
Yeah.
And since I mentioned Deep Space Nine, then we should probably segue into Star Trek Discovery. The episode that just aired, The Butcher's Knife Cares Not for the Lamb's Cry.
which is the longest name ever.
Ever.
Actually, season 3 had an episode called "For the World Is Hollow and I Touch the Sky."
Yeah, but that's Star Trek and it can be.
That's right. So,
Fiction.
thoughts?
Who do you want to go with first?
I was gonna say go.
Let's start with Jay. I'll see what we haven't heard from the
I
other two.
enjoyed the episode. I do agree with everybody else that they are continuing to build this new franchise. I like what they're doing. I like how it looks. I like the captain.
I
He's
do
a
like
dark
Lorca, yeah.
captain, and
Lorca's
he
dark.
really has me intrigued.
Mm-hmm.
I hate the fact, and I agree with Buddy on this, that they killed the security chief. But we kind of
Spoiler alert.
oh, sorry about that.
That's all right.
Kind of have an idea what they're going to do with that newly opened up position.
Well, I really think
Surprise.
that's where Michael Burnham's going to fall. Is
More
that-
likely.
I mean, it's
It's
so
the right
logical.
fit.
Yeah, it is. I mean, a human raised as a Vulcan, logical, but she
Yes.
still has. She does have her emotional outbreaks that she understands the threat at hand.
Being
Her
trained with Vulcan
human
martial arts.
curiosity,
Oh, yeah.
for sure.
And she is science, kind of like Spock.
Yeah.
She's
So I agree. I agree. I just believe that's where Michael Burnham's character is going to fall. Whether or not she'll be head of security, don't know, but she will definitely be. Lorca's probably liaison through security of whatever.
It's going to be a hard road for her no matter what.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
Being prior military, I had a little problem with the scene where they issued her a military uniform with no rank. I think that just leads to confusion if you were in a military type atmosphere. If anything, she needs to be issued just a standard uniform of lab tech or something that.
I'm thinking along the lines of Counselor Deanna Troy outfit. something.
Exactly.
But more, a little bit
The
more.
purple
She
jumpsuit with the cleavage, of
was a
course.
lieutenant, and she worked hard for that badge.
Because in the future we prove that we overcome our prejudices by putting female crew members in miniskirts and showing that the world's best.
Well-
No problem cannot be unresolved by the proper amount of phaser fire,
This is true.
unless you're the tardigrade creature. And you didn't care about that. Which again, I that's kind of a neat point that they're moving that creature's story concurrent with Burnham.
Mhm.
The creature wasn't what it seemed. It didn't attack. Everything it's done has been done as a defense mechanism,
Right.
and so on and so forth. Okay, so the ship geek in me is coming out. So the outside ring of the saucer
That's
spins
very cool.
Mhm.
when they do their jump.
Well, and when they jump, it does this.
Yeah.
whole
It's not
thing.
just the saucer thing. The
The
whole
whole
thing
thing
is just
goes.
this
Yeah.
whole twist.
Yeah.
Timey-wimey
Timey-wimey thing, yeah.
and everything,
Yeah.
so, I kind of like that, and I really think that it's maybe that isn't the initial design of the ship. I think that was added just for this.
I was gonna
type
say
of
they
ride.
added. I wonder if they added that extra ring, which means they better lock off those turbo lifts.
Well, it makes me, like you had a question.
Black
Brady.
alert.
Yeah, that's what the
Oh,
black
yeah.
alert's for.
Well, you also brought it up. I mean, is that ring even habitable? I mean, do they
Yeah.
even allow that ring for personnel to go to and stuff?
Yeah.
Other
Or is
than-
it a double ring? Is that like a base on the bottom and then the ring at the top to get through a Jeffries tube to the to and from?
Yeah.
I
So-
would think that the ring is not habitable at all, and other than just with components and stuff that maybe techs would need to get out there to,
It very-
to
very well
do
could
zipper
be.
tubes and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But
Well, something that I've seen so far from this show is that they don't introduce something and they'll pay it off later, so that there may literally be an answer to that very
Yeah.
geeky tech question. My biggest complaint about Discovery when it first started was I don't feel like I'm connecting with the character. I feel that way now. I'm loving Saru.
Taking almost a month.
I,
We're getting
well,
there.
Yeah, I like Saru. I like
I don't.
Captain Lorca.
You don't like
You don't like Saru?
He's not a good fit on the ship.
and that's what I want to
Yeah,
ask. How
okay.
did he actually wind up on the ship? I mean, he seems to be way too cautious, way too, the phalange thing that
Mhm.
comes out the back of the head. So
Threat ganglia.
Gangula, whatever.
Phalanges.
The phalanges.
That's the way mine are shooting out right now.
So I'm just, I just don't know how he wound up on the ship, and I'd really like to explain that. I mean, people just don't randomly get signed places, especially on an experimental ship like that.
Do you think
without a
Starfleet
reason.
made Lorca take him because they know how Lorca is?
They could have. That could have been
They
a
could
really
have.
good.
Basically, you need some
but,
balance,
but
dude.
he's
He
not
needs a
going to
place to
listen
go.
to him, though. He doesn't listen to him.
He doesn't. He'll
He
outsmart him
doesn't
over.
even-
He'll
Yeah,
overwin.
I was going to say it's not like he's not even
It's
taking.
just like Saru never left the shits out.
Yeah, because he doesn't. I mean, he does not interact with his XO at all.
Right.
No.
Yeah, I have not
I mean,
seen
he
any of that.
he interacts with Michael more than he does his XO or the security chief that died. You know, he interacts more with them than he does his XO and the chief engineer.
And for a first officer, he should always be in contact with his XO.
Well, we even
Or at least in my opinion. I mean that you're in command together. You should work as a team, and you should co.
Well, even Lorca
Right.
said whenever he offered the position to Burnham that basically Starfleet's giving him carte blanche to do whatever he wants
Yeah,
to be
that's
able to
true.
win the war.
Yeah.
So I don't think Starfleet would make him take him as a first officer if he didn't want him. So again, I'd
Right.
like to see some explanation of why he has some of the Shinzu's former crew on there. That would make
Right.
sense.
I mean, well, and that was the other thing too on the coincidence factor, which is okay. So Saru is now XO of this ship that has picked up Burnham. Okay, fine. But now we also have the helm girl that's been seriously injured. You know, the one that's got
the 7 and 9.
the 7 and 9 thing on him. Like, okay, so now, given not to throw in an Orville joke, you got 3,000 ships in the fleet, and now you've of all that on a crew of 300, you've encountered 2 people that you used to serve with. So I just wonder what.
And why?
And the most annoying roommate in the history of Star Trek.
But she's great. I like her.
She is great.
I like her.
I know she is. She has.
They're
Some,
probably going to kill her off on
We
that.
got-
Okay, the other thing they have in common is that they've all been in battle. They've all in.
Yeah.
that's true.
Okay,
That's true.
okay.
That's true.
Okay.
And one of our fellow viewers and everything out there that joins us, so yeah, we try to reel him in every
Yeah.
once in a while, but
Yeah.
so baby steps. He just made a comment.
He's made a comment
Yeah, so we're good.
that cannot be that is out there.
Exactly.
Well, will be out there.
Exactly.
Will be out there.
Exactly.
But, you know, and I liked her because she was the one, I mean, because Michael wasn't going to open,
That case.
That
Yeah, she was
case
never
at
gonna
all.
open the case.
That's true.
and, you know, she was like, you obviously, like we said, someone went to a lot of trouble to find her.
Mm-hmm.
Because she was supposed to be on she was supposed to be on that
Prison planet.
prison planet.
They said about
She
her.
was, you know, they didn't know where, I mean,
Well, even bringing that up, our fan from that viewed the show and everything, he brought up the great point. It was like, who took the time to collect that telescope
Stuff.
off the Shinzu
Yeah.
during the emergency evacuation?
Everyone evacuate. Hold
Hold on
on.
a second. I gotta grab something
Yeah.
from the captain so that
Yeah.
make sure that it gets to the right person.
Right.
So,
Unless,
yeah.
unless the captain prepared that before they went over, that would be very morbid.
Well, I seriously doubt it because they actually used it at one
That's
point.
right.
They
so
did
it's all
use
set
it.
up and
Ready
everything.
room. Yeah,
So
that's
if
right.
anything,
That's
it would have been knocked over and just kind of strewn about until
Yeah.
they hope the ordeal
And it's
was
been
over.
6 months, so what if somebody just went back to it?
Well, I don't think so because as we've just seen in the,
The
show,
Klingons did.
the Klingons are actually still occupying that area. They went over to the Shinzu
That's true.
to
Which-
steal the
Okay,
parts.
the one thing about Discovery that I'm not enamored with is the Klingon
Klingons.
storyline.
No.
I mean, the
They're
Klingon
hard to
makeup in general,
understand.
I'm sort of on the fence about. I think it makes the actors sound like they have a mouthful of rocks. But the actual Klingon storyline itself, I just feel like, I mean, not that it doesn't fit with the Klingons, but it just feel like, oh, we've seen this all before with the houses, and I mean, what's
Houses
your,
divided.
you're the big Klingon fan here, Jay. Are you liking it or?
Not really.
Okay. Do you like their new armor and uniforms? And all
I
that
like the armor that
Okay.
morphs into their EV suit.
Mm-hmm.
At first, I had an issue with it, but it seems to be functional. And if you're going to be Klingon, it has to be functional. Everything you do, your weapons have to be
Right.
functional.
Everything serves a
All
purpose.
that, absolutely. So for that, I like it, and I think it stays consistent.
Okay.
I don't like the way that they look. I do not like the way they talk.
And they're using the real Klingon, but they're using the Klingon language that was created for the show. They're just not.
It just doesn't sound Klingon.
Yeah.
Right. Well, true, they are using the language of the Klingons that was developed for the show and
Right.
everything, but as we've seen in the Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, a lot of the language that we used in its dialect is a lot different from what we're hearing now.
Right.
What I've noticed is that between the two shows, the ones that we've already seen and what Discovery's introducing us, is that this one sounds almost, and not to offend anyone, more of a Native American type of, short and enunciated, but
Yes.
not like a full cut-on sentence. It just seems to be choppy and everything. And again, I don't mean that as any type of
No,
disrespect.
it's almost like they've made an honest, an active, creative choice to go that route.
Correct.
Because it doesn't even sound anything like, well, to me, it doesn't sound anything like even J.J. Abrams.
Yeah.
No.
No. I mean, that sounded
We
like
have a little bit
Mark
more-
Olcker's Klingonese that he developed that he originally developed for the movies. That he kept developing for next
To
year.
me, that sounded right.
Yeah.
Sounded good.
So,
I feel like it would be hard. So the Federation does end up learning Klingon, and the way that they have it now would be hard. I don't see how the Federation could learn the Klingon. So like when we move forward to
Between Enterprise.
Enterprise though, because Hoshi, she was the first one to
I know, but I'm talking
understand.
about now at this point where they have the dialect in the
Yeah, but Enterprise came before Discovery.
Yeah.
That's true, but
So
but
that's
honestly,
why
I don't think we're even in that same era. We're not in that same
we
timeline.
may be in a third timeline.
We're in a third timeline, and I don't.
As each new episode unfolds, I
There's
guess
no
we'll-
way that they should be able to beam from one
Yeah,
area of
this
the ship to the sick bay. You can't do that in next gen. Why
Yeah,
should
well,
you be
they
able
could
to
do
do
it
that
next year,
now?
but the comm badges allowed them to do it. This is before that.
Oh, that's
so.
true. But they couldn't do it in Kirk.
No, they could not.
No.
They even made
We
a
never
point
saw
to say if they did it in one episode, and they made a point to say if we do this wrong, we're going to materialize inside a bulkhead.
Yep.
Day of the Dove, season 3.
I agree. I think we're no longer in TOS. We're no longer in Kelvin. We are now in a Discovery timeline that it may reference some materials from everything, but I think we're in a timeline that basically, as Trekkies, we just
And we've talked about this before, so
Yeah,
not to retread old ground, but it can be frustrating. But speaking of retreading of things, I'm going to put Jay on the spot here because we are now, since it is October, season 2 of The Exorcist.
Horror
just
month.
started. Yeah, horror month.
So my favorite month of the entire year.
That's right. This is I joked earlier. This is our Christmas.
It is.
Halloween is our Christmas.
Absolutely. They
Sorry,
have,
Life Church.
they have aired two episodes
Mhm.
of the new season 2 of The Exorcist, which is, in my opinion, a great hit. For those that love the original Exorcist movie, this it ties in with, or at least first season, ties in very well with that storyline as a continuation. And then you have two priests teaming up that very different priests, but with the same goal in mind, and that new partnership that they created at the end of season 1 is 6 months, starting at 6 months into the future as season 2, episode 1 aired.
Okay.
Again, very impressed with it. It looks great. I will continue to watch it.
Okay.
compare between Supernatural and The Exorcist. I mean, do you see kind of a
There-
genre
there's-
similarities? or?
There is a good continuity between the two.
Because say with Supernatural, I mean, you got
They do exorcisms, etc.
and so and it's also a duo pair. Well, I guess not really a duo anymore. I mean, they've added what's his name?
John?
John, yes.
Yes.
So I mean, is he kind of been more? Is it become more of a trio still, or is it still more? Because I know
He's
watching.
doing his own storyline right now.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah.
Which again, that resumes later this month, correct?
I do believe at the end of this month, sometimes their dates fluctuate between the end of September and the beginning of
Right.
October. The end of October into November.
First November. Okay. Well, okay, so we've covered our superhero
Sci-fi
genre,
horror.
sci-fi horror,
It's
and
time to
so
move to the
now
movies, right?
now it's time to move to. There was a little movie that opened this weekend. A lot of people have been waiting a long time for it, and Blade Runner 2049. Turtle Gal and I caught a screening of it last night, and the theater was not as crowded as we had anticipated.
It wasn't crowded at all.
But anyway, so we saw it, and I'm going to give my thoughts on it, and I'm going to go out on a limb with something that is probably, if I say this at the wrong Comic-Con at the wrong time, it'll get my fan card pulled and basically ride me out of Comic-Con on a rail, which is Jason Barker, Ronnie Brown. Don't unfriend us for this, okay? Just wait for me to finish. The original Blade Runner, I have always had a hard time connecting with it. I appreciate it for what I can appreciate it for what it is, but it is not one of my favorite films simply because it is I've always found it to be a very cold film, a very distant film, which I know is the intent, much like 2001: A Space Odyssey, another sci-fi classic that I can't really connect with.
You're not alone.
Okay, all right. And the pacing is awkward. I mean, it's a great it's a great world build. I mean, I appreciate the special effects that they did for the time. I appreciate the fact that it was the first sort of live action anime cyberpunk thing that they did, and I appreciated a lot of the questions that Blade Runner tried to ask.
See, we even discussed this a little bit. Is that your feelings about the Blade Runner, first movie thing is a lot what I agree with in the sense of the 1999 TV show.
Yeah, Space 1999. Yes, right.
It just, to me, it had a lot of what you just said. It had some great ideas, and to me, it just didn't click with me. I just didn't grab it. But with Blade Runner, so kind of going back to tabletop games and stuff, I was a huge tabletop gamer with the Cyberpunk game, and this was a genre that a game that was meant for Blade Runner, and
Right.
so, same as Shadowrun and everything.
Mhm.
I mean, you think of those two type of tabletop games. Blade Runner is the
Yeah.
atmosphere you put it in.
Oh, absolutely. And,
So-
and again, so I appreciate all that. I just didn't. I felt like its reach exceeded its grasp. Again, I don't think it's a terrible film. It's just a film I don't connect with. Now, Blade Runner 2049, I connected with it. I liked all the characters. I cared about them all. I thought that it asked a lot of the same questions that the first one did, only in a much more direct fashion. I thought it went further beyond that into questioning the nature of what's a relationship. Blade Runner was always dancing around the question of self. This is dancing around the question of self in addition to, the question I kept coming back to is, am I who I am because this is who I say I am, or am I destined to be this because that's what I was born into regardless of what I try to do?
Right.
A lot of fate versus determination.
Well, with almost 3-hour runtime, I would hope that it brought a lot of
It
questions
is a
and
slow
answers.
burn.
It is. The third act could have been trimmed a little bit more, but and that's because you had read an article with Ridley Scott,
Yes.
and he said that Harrison Ford's character,
Yeah, Deckard.
Deckard.
Now I can't remember.
Deckard,
Deckard.
Ridley Scott said that he was a replica,
Right.
and
Harrison Ford said
said
he's
he
not.
wasn't.
So that tells you right there just
Yeah.
how on board the cast was. And we did talk about probably one of the biggest, most egregious things of it is the almost 3-hour runtime.
3 hours.
Yes, it's 2 hours and 49 minutes. And here's the thing,
It's a long
We were-
movie.
we- it is.
Titanic long.
and it's a
I was
slow
gonna say,
burn.
Titanic. I'm like, the
Yeah.
ship's going down.
Yeah.
We're gonna drag this out.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing too is there wasn't really a specific plot line that I would have cut out, but I think I was telling the Blues Man earlier, a lot of the scenes just seemed to play out
Really long.
very long. Like they could have cut some of this dialogue or that, not that there was any one particular storyline that was bad, because it all connects together. So yes, Blade Runner 2049. Some of the reviews are calling it a science fiction masterpiece. I would stop short of that.
I'm like,
But it was. There's not a wasted frame of film in the film.
and it was beautiful. I
Ryan
mean,
Gosling is awesome in
yes,
it.
Ryan did really.
Everybody's great. Folks out there in the 918, don't let anybody spoil it for you because there's a lot of reveals. There's a lot of things in it, and there's even things that you think, well, boy, they're letting that out of the bag early, and then it turns around, oh no, they were just setting you up for this later reveal down the road.
Yeah.
And I heard Harrison Ford and Ryan Gosling's on-screen chemistry
Was
is
really
phenomenal.
Yes, it is
Yeah,
very
really
good.
They've even done a few interviews together, and they just play off each other so
Yeah.
well in not only movie but in just personal lives. So
I'm just tickled that Harrison Ford could do an interview and not be grumpy.
it's true.
So,
Actually, that's always a plus.
so
It's always a plus.
Jimmy Fallon gave him booze.
well, that would be it.
All right.
So, having said, I think we pretty much covered everything as far as fan related goes. I think there's a few items we need to talk about. First of all, Fanboys 918 is going to be appearing at the Tulsa Pop Expo next weekend.
Next Saturday or Sunday.
Our panels will be in the convention runs Saturday and Sunday. Pre-registration's on Friday. We will be presenting panels on Sunday afternoon, one at noon and one at 3 o'clock. So we'll be there live and in person. Should anyone get the urge to come out and see us, it's at the Wyndham Hotel at 41st and Garnett. If you Google Tulsa Pop Expo, you can find all the information there. Tickets for general admission for the weekend are $20. I think they're $25 at the door. So
We are supporting a great cause,
Tulsa Pop Kids, I believe.
and everything. So all the proceeds go to support them. So it's a great event to come out and support local community.
Yes. And then our next appearance after that will be at Wizards World, Oklahoma City. And as we've mentioned before, Fanboys 918 is a partner
Affiliate.
with Wizards World, and if you buy your tickets through our and use our
Promo code
at the
Promo
end of the
ID.
checkout, you will get 10% off your tickets. And that
Right.
promo code is,
Fanboys 918.
because I tend to forget the 918.
Yes, you do. So yeah, so when you go to check out online through Wizard World's ticket purchase for the Oklahoma City event only,
Yes,
use the promo ID Fanboys918 and you'll get a 10% discount off your tickets.
that's correct. And if you follow our Facebook page, there's a link there, I believe,
Correct.
that
Our website fanboys918.com
also has the
has the details there,
aforementioned link.
as well as our Twitter account.
Right. And while we're there, we'll be doing 3 panels. We're going to be doing a Star Trek panel, our annual Fanboys panel, and we've added a horror panel this year. And we're also going to be facilitating 2 sessions, or I'm sorry, is it 4 sessions
2 games on Saturday, 2 games on Sunday.
of the Star Trek Adventures game. So,
That
yes.
is sponsored by. That is
Did
actually.
we
Yes,
add
neither
to
did
them?
we.
Okay, I was like, did we add to them?
So-
We did not. The friendly folks at Wizards World did, which we appreciate. By
Yes.
the way. We appreciate the
And this
opportunity.
Star Trek Adventures is also a game that is produced by Modifius.
Yes.
And you can actually go on to their website at what's the name?
It's
of it?
modifius.com, I
I
believe.
believe it is, and you can actually pre-purchase books, PDFs, actually figures for the game as well. A lot of that stuff you can pre-order now, and they're looking at shipping late October, early into November, I believe. So
Yeah. The PDFs, are they ready to download yet?
I believe there are some. They're
Yeah.
still in development, but any hardback material, books and
Yeah, it's
stuff
not
is
been
still being
released yet.
developed. Pre-orders are being taken, but not being shipped yet.
That's right.
So you have to check back constantly to find out when that stuff will be sent out.
All right. Well, guys, I think that covers it. I want to thank everybody for joining us at the inaugural broadcast of Talking Geek. We'll see you next time.